Okay, this is a video. I'm gonna do one of a few. This is just part one. I did a video earlier, but apparently my phone cut off and went dead on me. So anyway, starting from the beginning, my experience from this whole gang stalking situation. If I had to take a guess on as far as when this started to happen, I have to say this started happening around after the Great Louisiana Flood. Now, during this time, I ended up staying with family for a bit, and I ended up renting out a apartment unit just to hurry up and get out of the house. Out of the house I was staying in because unfortunately my cousin, one of my family members was having a baby, and unfortunately, like she couldn't have all those people in there, so we all split it off. Mom was able to get her house back in order. My cousin, I'm not sure what happened to him. I think he eventually found an apartment or something. I think. As for me, I found one for myself, but it wasn't in a really good neighborhood. If I had to say, I've been warned about it several times. Now, the job that I worked at during this time, and even several times past, a lot of people kept warning me about it. A lot of people did. They told me like a lot of the people there, like they are not the kinds of people you really want to be working around, the kind of people that you want to be around for too long. And I started realizing what type of atmosphere was in that job site that I was working in, and it was a very favorable one. And I'm like, it seems like there's a lot of favoritism going on. So I didn't realize just how toxified and how bad it was until like later on, and then unfortunately, I just stuck with it over time, and it got so it was a situation from there, and then eventually a situation from where I was living at, because I did a series of rant videos. I did a series of rant videos. Now I did not upload these videos to online. I didn't do that. But unfortunately, some of the unsuspecting public on the outside caught wind of the videos I was making, and they were on very sensitive subjects relating to race and whatnot. Like, I was basically saying things like, just because like you're black, you shouldn't have to feel like, you have to be a thug or anything like that. You shouldn't have to own up to this un this unnecessary expectancy that unfortunately society characterizes our people as, or even tries to characterize themselves as. Like, you don't technically have to do that. You don't have to be a rapper. You don't have to be a thug. You don't have to be a gangbanger. You don't have to be none of that. You don't have to talk like that. You don't have to act like that. Just because you're black, it doesn't mean that that's your heritage, and that's the thing. You are who you are, and the thing is, like, you were not born to just to be that. That stuff is just influenced on you from today's society, and this is not even just related to just the the African American culture, or black culture, or whatever they like to call it. It's the same thing that goes for every other culture, every other ethnicity. Like, you don't have to be what people are expecting you to be. In the end, as long as you're happy, and as long as you're doing things right, like doing things that like are not harmful to others, as long as it's making as long as it's stuff that makes you happy, that should be all that matters. But unfortunately, in today's society, a lot of people would speak out against such and certain things. They didn't like what I was saying, and they didn't like the fact that how I was saying it, and they unfortunately enforced their way into the conversation in which they were not welcome. Now, I'm not much of a public speaker. I'm not an activist. I'm not really too much of a truth seeker. But in the coming days since then, like, I ended up finding myself in a position of the TIs. So in this situation over time, what I started noticing the first time was like a lot of odd behavior was going on. Like, people would just randomly, constantly, like, would drive by in paces with either their vehicles, or they would walk by in paces, and they would just be acting really sketchy. And I didn't really pay too much attention to it until it started getting more serious. I started finding signs that someone was going in and out of my apartment unit during the times I was staying in this particular part of the neighborhood. And unfortunately, like, it was a constant thing. It was so bad that the the people like would have the unit next to mine on a constant base. Now the unit next to mine was ended up becoming vacant at some point. It became vacant, and the door was constantly unlocked, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, no apartment unit's door should be unlocked like that. It just shouldn't be, but it was. And like it was just people randomly going into that unit. It was completely empty, no furniture or nothing in there, as far as I'm assuming, because I didn't even bother to go check. But it was people constantly going in there, and I just didn't know what was going on. Now, as far as my gang stalking experience has started, I kind of thought that it was just a few of the coworkers that may have put me on this list, and at some point, like, it just seemed to be like a more big of an issue that just carried on and carried on and carried on and carried on. So I think like it was just an attempt to just either get me to quit the job or to, just to leave at some point. I believe that's what it was. And then it just started to stretch out onto something even much more sinister. Because as the years and days started to go by, I started to realize that my targeting has gotten way out of proportion, like way, way out of proportion. It got to a point that from where I didn't even know it was targeted until I found out it was. And the point that I found out it was is that, like, the signs that I found in my apartment, I found a female hair strand laying around in my apartment unit's floor. Now, I always clean my floor when I was in there, but I had told, because of the neighborhood the way it was, I didn't really put much of anything in that unit because, I mean, I wasn't gonna waste my time and hard-earned money spending money on stuff to just, for it to disappear the next day. Like, I'm not stupid enough to do that. So I knew it was a bad neighborhood, so I just stuck with the little air mattress that I had, television and whatnot. It wasn't much, but it was something. I ate well. I had my little PS4s for entertainment purposes and whatnot, and that was it. Like, that's all I technically needed. It's not. It wasn't a neighborhood that I felt safe enough to really settle down in, so I didn't even bother putting much in. And I'm telling you, like, when it comes to that, if you ever find yourself in a situation like that, do not. I am telling you, for your own good, do not um, get anything as far as that's concerned, because like it's just no. It will be a waste of your money. It will be a waste of your money. I am telling you, do not buy. If you find yourself in a neighborhood like that, do not buy anything, because I'm telling you, like, the stuff that I've seen, I ended up seeing a homeless guy sleeping in the laundry room, which the door should have been locked to the said laundry room, but it wasn't. Um, it, I mean, it's so bad. You got prostitution going out all out on the streets, and I ended up looking on the news, and I found out a guy had got shot in some type of brawl like two or 3 days ago when I was spending the night over my aunt's place. I think it may have been for Thanksgiving or something. Now, the kicker that happened to where I had to immediately leave and I was planning to just get the heck out of that neighborhood was that a guy ended up rushing out of the one of the apartment units nearby in the same area of the complex I was living at. I don't know if this was a form of my targeting, but it eventually was a point to where I was just ready to get the heck out of there. So what happened was the guy ended up rushing out of his unit and just literally started blasting his gun like crazy. No excuse for it all. I went to inspect the situation the next morning, and apparently he had this crummy excuse, and it just didn't make any sense. From what he said, he ends up telling me that, well, like, his apartment unit was flooding. Not even his, like, someone else's apartment unit was flooding, and the guy, like, just went mad or something like that, would just shoot him because of it. I'm like, that doesn't even make, like, no one's just gonna fucking flare off their gun for something like that. So that just didn't make much sense to me. I believe my targeting started primarily because the shit that they were doing at my job was getting way too out of hand, and I was starting to become more and more of a threat to them. And my targeting also became more and more severe because I was, telling it how it is out in the neighborhood. Like people just didn't need to be that of which they were trying to, get them to be. And I started to realize that there was something sinister behind that. The sinister thing behind that was that they were basically like or using people as cattle. As far as crime is concerned, they use people as cattle to keep the crime going on in the states and the cities. They have people who influence that. They have people who enforce it, and they have people who deal with it. And it's all in a systematic way to where if they find anybody interfering in it, they're going to get targeted. That's why they targeted activists. That's why they targeted truth speakers and free thinkers, because they are a threat to the system. Um, as far as my targeting is situation is concerned, like this is a situation. As far as I know, from when it started, I have to say it started at that first apartment, at that particular apartment unit that I was living in because of the neighborhood. So it went from there. It went over to my cousin's place, and the situation there, it wasn't as bad, but it started to get bad to even where the I was sensing that like I was being like intentionally set up at this point. Now from there to my cousin's place, what ends up happening is I I'm on my way from work, and then I'm going to her place forward. Right now, this is after that guy went ballistic with the gun. Because at that point, I didn't even feel safe living in there anymore because of how crummy the doors were. They were just completely uh, ragged, and I am telling you, like they were not sturdy at all. Like those doors where they were using were not outside doors. Those are the doors that you would like use for inside doors. And I thought they said I was gonna get a brand new door. That wasn't a brand new door. It was just an old door that was repaired and pasted back together, and it just put some type of metallic brass around the whole doorknob or whatever. But the thing is, like those doors are paper thin; they can easily be broken down. Um, but anyway, so I go over to my cousin's place, right? Now everything seems cool and all that until I noticed that like similar situations were going on down there, and I started noticing like these odd looking cars and stuff showing up around the local barbershop, which was just so happened to be next door to where the little food stop shop that was stopping by around the corner. I didn't think much of it, but it started being very odd, like and it was a situation where like people who were either in cars or on foot would follow me from there, going all the way while I'm going all the way back to my cousin's place, and they would go to the house that's literally at the corner across the street. Now, that was happening for a while too. Again, I didn't think much of it, but a couple of days after, I'm on my way from work. Now, mind you, I'm working from nights to mornings. So, because of me being so far away and her living so far away from my job, I had to catch the bus just to get there. So, anyway, I get on the bus, and I'm getting driven all the way across town. And now I can't recall what date this was, but I do have the footage of it in the Times because I sent the images to my. I think I sent the images to the police when I filed the report on this. I'm on my way from work to home and to my cousin's place, and from what I'm seeing, I'm noticing guns like laying in front of this house, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm seeing like two, three, like 3 or 4 guns just laid out on both the sidewalk and the front lawn of this house. Now, I didn't know who lived in the house. I figured maybe someone who was like hauling off a gun collection or something they were willing to sell. Maybe they was hauling it off around at nighttime or something, and they must have just accidentally dropped 2 or 3 of them. But the problem is, if a gun falls on concrete, like you're gonna know. You're gonna know. So I wasn't dumb enough, like, cause I know, like, I already know better. Like, I didn't touch him. I kept my distance from him as well. And I went to go before I did anything. I went to go tell my cousin about it. She said, "Well, like, it was kind of like she wasn't really taking me seriously or whatever." So I figured, I go back and snap some pics of it, right? So I go back, I do that, and bring them to her. She tells me to call the police. Later on, I find out this is a bus stop where kids are going to. This is a bus stop where kids go to. So these guns are probably marked and already been used for an illegal activity for all I know, and they were planted there to, for me, in hopes for me to be stupid enough to pick them up. I didn't touch them. I didn't even go nowhere near them. I just got close enough and used the zoom function on my camera to snap a few photos of them. Then I filed a report with the police. Now they come by. They do they do a little clarification with me, finding out who I am or whatever, right? And it ends up happening like after that, shit just gets even more worse. Now, my cousin's boyfriend's uncle, he shows up and starts staying around while I'm over there, right? Now, I catch him wearing some of my shit. And I gave him the benefit of a doubt. I gave him the benefit of a doubt, and I was like, you know what? Maybe he's just got some similar shit. Because there's times people will have. So I give him the benefit of the doubt, and I go check my stuff. As soon as I go check my things, he comes rushing to the garage door, talking about some. Oh man, is that your stuff? I thought that was your cousin's husband's stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. So that means you intentionally had the intentions to steal from my cousin's husband? Like seriously? Like that's really messed up. But anyway, like after that, right? Like I get my stuff back. I tell him just to keep the shirt because I don't know what that guy's been in or what he's been doing. But I take my shoes back. Man, dude, like I don't even know what the heck that guy was searching for, but the whole thing is like he was digging through my possessions, man. My possessions, my personal papers, my important documents, my clothes, and all kinds of stuff. Like I don't know what the hell like this guy was intentions were, but it was obviously to steal. So I let my cousin know about it. They ended up eventually kicking him out. But after that, he shows up again, but this time it's with my cousin's brother, my cousin's husband's brother, and he ends up showing up a few times, right? Not really doing much of anything, so I didn't really think much of it. But I think this guy was working as an informant, meaning it was a whole stalking operation going on, and I didn't realize it. And the reason why I say this is because he ends up immediately showing up at one point in time, immediately looking for where I'm at, and I'm like, what the fuck? Because and the only reason why I'm even saying this is because he literally walked through the front door and he said it loud enough for me to hear him saying what room he in, and then immediately he goes to the room I'm at. So I didn't know much about what was going on. I didn't think much of it. I just asked him, "Did you need something?" But he didn't really say much. So after that, um, the stalking got even more worse, and I started seeing the situation at my job start from turning from one scenario to another. Now, after that, I eventually, um, how should I say, move over to my new apartment complex. Right now, I've been paying off this now, but before that, I ended up going over to my aunt's place. I stayed there on vacation time for about a week and a half, right? For about a week and a half, and some of the people from my job start showing up with the food, the fast food that I was ordering, right? They start showing up, and I'm like, what the fuck? But again, I didn't think much of it, so I just like, well, whatever. Um, what ends up happening after that is I get my new apartment unit, right? I get my new apartment unit, and I had my aunt and her boyfriend help me move my things into said apartment unit, and they go on about their way because they were going on a little trip for themselves or whatever, just to uh, on some type of romantic thing or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, after like they helped me get my couch and stuff installed in my apartment complex, my goes ahead and just decorates my apartment, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not around when she does this, so I don't know. I know my targeting started at some point. I just didn't know how severe it was. But I don't think my family was. I don't know how if they knew about what was going on. I don't know how much they knew about what was going on. But at this point, like I did not want to. One of the things like it's from the level that it's at now. If I would have known, I would have never even bothered like really to bother with them because I didn't want them involved. And from what I'm seeing from then to now is that when you on this situation, it will target anybody who is your family, anybody who is your friend, and they will put them under the same exact shit because they're helping you. And it's really shameful how this organization is like this, man. It's very demonic and satanic. But anyway, so they leave after helping me out move my couch into my apartment unit, right? And these two guys come out of nowhere from out from the elevator. All I'm hearing is like they said he lives right here. I'm like, what the hell? I just caught on to this as soon as they are approaching. I even see them too, and they're walking down the corridor, and then they make a left. And from then on, like my targeting, it just started amping up from then, and it started getting to a point to where like people at my job were just making complaint after complaint after complaint after complaint after complaint, and it was a constant thing. And I'm like, I'm not even doing anything, and I started to realize like these people really wanted me gone. And I think that's what this whole thing is. It's just been a desperate attempt to get me fired or to get me to quit. And it's been so sinister to the point to where like they have done as much as they could to get me in jail. They have done as much to get me either in jail, and I suspect they may have actually made an attempt to have me killed at some point recent, not too long ago actually. I actually caught on, and this was more than one occasion though, but I don't want to go into that right now. um anyway so anyway, like a little bit after that, I started realizing the target of what was going on, but I didn't realize what was going on until the EMF attack started to happen. And and I couldn't make much sense of it. Like I started hearing shit or something like that, and it was really odd. Like it was just, it was like a burning sensation, and then I'm like insomnia, all kinds of stuff, and then I'm like, what? I just didn't understand what was going on, so I started to do some research, and then eventually I found some solutions to my problem. But even though like I was able to make ends to soothe my situation and to to deal with this situation, it still didn't make my living situation any more safer, because I already knew like when you're in a situation like this, your life is definitely on the line every day, on the clock, man. It just truly is. Like it's either they're gonna push you to take yourself out, or they're gonna trick you to take yourself out, or they're gonna try to take you out and try to cover it up. Um, Here's my advice to all you TIs out there. Look, the the trafficking that they do the street theater. I'm telling you, do not, just be mindful of it, but do not give them your reaction. Do not do it. I am telling you for your own benefit. Do not take video recordings if you must, but only if it gets too bad is what I like to say. I only do that when it gets too bad. But if it's not, then don't even just ignore them. They hate it when they do that. It's at 25 now, so I need to stop this video. I'm gonna do the next one in just a few minutes. But this is my targeting experience part 1.